My name is Musa Adnan, that's Sheikh Abdurraheem Green, this is ReRooted, and here's what we have coming up next. Favorite ayah in the Quran right now?
No, it's just impossible to... How can you even ask a question like that?
Even if there's an ayah that comes to your head, I don't know, something, an ayah that's...
قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ
Allahu Akbar, okay, we'll go with that.
لَا أَعْبُدُ مَا تَعْبُدُونَ. Take a needle,
Yeah.
and go to the seaside with the needle,
Okay.
right? And go where you can see the sea is like the ocean is in front of you. There's no land, it's just ocean.
Yeah.
Take the needle, dip it in the ocean and pull it out. Then look what's left on that needle. That is the dunya, and the sea is the akhirah. Places like Leicester Square is not where it's happening anymore. The places where people are lost, they're lost on their phones. They're lost on Snapchat. They're lost on Instagram. They're lost on TikTok, right? That's where they're lost now, right? And whether they know it or not, they're going there searching for something. They are. Every time you're flicking, you're going through, you're really, at the end of the day, what are you really doing when you open it up? What's really going on? And why is it so addictive? Why is it so addictive? Because really deep down inside, you're hoping there's something there that's going to just change your life.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Walaikum assalam.
How are you?
Alhamdulillah.
How's things? You're looking a little bit tired.
I feel tired.
Subhanallah.
I'm lacking the strength.
Inshallah, we get to wake you up a little bit with a quick fire.
Inshallah.
So as some of you guys may know, alhamdulillah, some of the special episodes, we start them off with a quick fire round. And we get to know our guest, even though Sheikh Abdurraheem Green isn't really a guest, he's very much at home. But we get to know our guests on a more personal level. So inshallah, let's start off. First one is Portugal or UK?
UK.
Biryani or mandi?
Biryani.
You mixed them both.
Biryani. I don't even know what mandi is. What is mandi?
You know, it's just like the way the Arabs eat meat and rice.
No, biryani. Forget that, man.
Car or motorbike?
Car.
Android or Apple?
Apple.
It's the first one. Thank you so much.
What?
What is your actual name?
Anthony Wadsworth Gavin Green.
Wow, that's the first one for me. Favorite place?
Gosh, subhanallah, favorite place. Well, my home. Yeah, my house.
Your home.
Yeah.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Favorite food?
Biryani.
Really?
It's difficult. It depends. Like, if you're going to put me down to one food, it will be biryani. If you ask me what's my favorite breakfast, that'll be a different subject. What's my food? But biryani, there's one thing if there's only one thing I was allowed to eat the whole time, it would definitely biryani have to be there. It's
okay.
The best, probably the best thing in the world, man. Biryani, mashallah.
Mecca or Medina?
Gosh, yes. Probably Medina. Yeah.
Al-Baik or KFC?
I don't remember ever having Al-Baik.
Really?
Yeah, and I don't really like KFC that much either.
You need to try Al-Baik, it's nice.
Yeah.
Not as a regular thing, but it's nice.
Yeah.
Pizza or Domino's?
Domino's.
Samosa or pakora?
Samosa.
Favorite ayah in the Quran right now?
No, it's just impossible to... How can you even ask a question like that?
Even if there's an ayah that comes to your head, I don't know, something, an ayah that's...
قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ.
Allahu Akbar, okay. We'll go with
لَا
that.
أَعْبُدُ مَا تَعْبُدُونَ.
We'll go with that.
Yeah, some people need to remember that particular surah. But anyway, yeah, go on.
100%. How far back could you name your ancestors?
Not very far. Too generous. Maybe too... I know some like spots in my ancestry,
okay,
but I couldn't name them. Like this one was married to that one, So only to my great grandfather.
Okay. Which person from the past inspires you the most?
What you mean, other than the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam?
Yeah. Other than the Prophet.
Yeah. Well,
Can
other
be Muslim,
than any of the
non-Muslim.
prophets, subhanallah, that's really difficult. I honestly. I can't even think of someone. You really landed me on it with that one. Who inspires me from the past? A person who really inspires me. That's so hard.
Perhaps someone you've read about, or someone whenever you read
the thing
about
is, there's
them.
so many.
Hmm.
I'll be honest, Ibrahim alayhi salam,
Okay.
right? For me, like Ibrahim is one of the most. He's probably the most inspirational figure for me.
And is there like a brief reason for that?
Yeah, I think because he was all on his own.
Hmm.
Like I sort of connect with it a lot when I first became Muslim.
Hmm.
And he was just like, he was the only muwahid, and he was all in it. He was just up against so much, and he was so brave, right? So courageous, so intellectually astute. The way his dawah, it's also his dawah was so powerful.
Hmm.
Just, you know, just the awe-inspiring figure for me, Ibrahim alayhi salam, right? Yeah, I'd have to say it's like, it's hard once you exclude the prophets, and I have many left. That sort of, I think on a little level, like Uthman, the founder of the Uthmani dynasty, I don't know much about him, right? But the little I know about him, the fact that he was so inspired by the hadith of the Prophet, like the best, you know, the army that opens Constantinople, what a leader and what an army, and the fact that he was literally driven by that hadith of the Prophet to want to be the guy who did. And also he was a remarkable character as well. So I think in relatively modern history, he's someone that definitely, just for that particular thing, there's so many people. It's difficult.
Most definitely, subhanAllah.
Yeah.
Favorite companion and why?
Mus'ab ibn Umair.
Okay.
Like, so underrated as a companion. Like, yeah, you could argue that he was pivotal. He's maybe one of the most pivotal companions in the sense that the mission that he had, right, of opening up Medina, of giving down Medina, was the pathway for everything. So he literally, in so many ways, the whole future of Islam rested on what his mission.
SubhanAllah.
Right?
Yeah.
Literally, like, people, you don't think about it. If he hadn't gone to Medina and he hadn't had that success, that Allah hadn't given him that success, and he hadn't been able to literally, you know, it was that, I think in every house, that because of his dawah there was a Muslim. It was his dawah that transformed Medina and like opened the pathway for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to go there. So Mus'ab and again, the fact that he was from a really wealthy background, that what he put up from his mum, some of that stuff I can really relate to as well. Yeah, and how the Prophet used to cry about him because he used to wear all these beautiful fine clothes, and he was like, you know, subhanallah. So Mus'ab, definitely.
You know something you reminded me of about him, subhanallah, when he passed away at Uhud. You know, and obviously they would shroud you, they would try and cover you, and when they would cover his head, his feet would become uncovered. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he saw that, he cried.
Yeah, that's right. Remembering,
Subhanallah. And the background he came from, as you said, that context. He came from a very wealthy background, and now look, we can't even cover him properly. Subhanallah. These people sacrificed everything. Your favorite reciter?
I am not into anything like that.
Okay.
I couldn't even name a reciter, you know, Abdul Basit, but I'm not particularly fond of that style of recitation. So like, I am clueless about reciters, clueless.
Okay, favorite book, obviously other than the Quran.
Gosh, there's a really, I don't want to say.
Okay, you don't want to say.
Only because I don't want people start reading it and then start. So this happened to me before, right? It's like, so people asked, you know, I started saying, oh, this is a really good book. And then people read it and said, oh, it's full of kufr, Abdurraheem. And it's like, oh, right, okay. You know, like, people are so, it's fair enough. They don't have that understanding to be able to extract information that's useful from something and leave the stuff that is whatever. So there's a book that I find is just absolutely brilliant. Like, for a person who has a good amount of knowledge, and who has that discernment, that ability, it's incredible. But I'm not going to say what it is because I don't want people to get confused.
No, I feel you. There's books like that as well that I've read that I wouldn't recommend because I know people would just go on a eye horse about it. Most amazing recent country you visited? Obviously, we've been in lockdown, so
Philippines, yeah.
Okay, we're gonna talk about that.
My trip to the Philippines was just Philippines. Yeah, loved it. Amazing.
What did you love about the Philippines?
People, you know, the food, the dawah was amazing. The trip was amazing. You know, it was just, I guess it's, I guess it's the whole combination of stuff. But I think, I think the people really help make a place as well. If the people are nice and friendly and welcoming, and I really like the Philippines.
Favorite form of exercise?
Mountain biking, yeah, or skiing. Skiing is not as practical as mountain biking, so.
Morning person or night person?
Yeah, morning, definitely. You know that from our conversation.
Yeah, from before.
Yeah, from before.
Favorite product? Maybe this is something you use, your face, your beard, I don't know.
Okay, my favorite product, right?
Yeah.
Probably has to be what my wife gave me for Eid.
Okay.
Yeah? Gucci beard oil, right?
Really?
Oh my God.
I didn't know it exists.
Stuff smells, the smell of it is like, it sends you in your head in a spin, and it's just, beautiful. Yeah.
I need to check
I have
that
to
out.
say, I'm not really a big into anything like that, but that, and before that, she got me some Tom Ford beard oil, tobacco and vanilla Tom
I was
Ford
trying to
beard
get that.
oil. Oh, subhanallah, amazing. Yeah, my wife, I have to say, mashallah,
Allahu
hit the
Akbar.
spot with those gifts that she gave me.
Subhanallah.
Mashallah.
No, that actually
Yeah.
sounds good.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely recommend it.
Dawa in the east or in the west?
Oh, probably. I'd probably say in the east now. I've got a feeling Dower in the west might be a bit dead. I don't know. It's like seems to not. Maybe it's because of us. Maybe we're not enthusiastic and committed, and I don't know where it's going.
I want to speak to you about. We're going to speak about this
Yeah.
more in the episode, inshallah. City person or country person?
Countryside, definitely. Allah protect me from cities and their.
This is going to be a good one. Favorite
Yeah.
employee within iERA?
Wow. Murtaza.
Really?
The guy's a soldier, man.
That's really good.
That guy we've been with us so long, and he is so patient. I never heard him shout. I never heard him get upset. I never heard him hardly ever complain about anything.
He's a
And
beautiful
even when
brother.
he does, and he is a soldier. He is salt. Like there's an expression from the Gospels when Jesus talks about the salt of the earth, right? So that's the expression we have, salt of the earth. People who they're essential. They are the backbone. They give the flavor. They are, I don't know, salt of the earth. It's that he's one of those people.
Allahu
Yeah.
Akbar. Best country you've been to for dawah,
For Dower,
specifically?
probably.
Doesn't necessarily.
Like anywhere in Africa, Malawi,
Hmm.
maybe Burundi, where I went with your dad. That was amazing. Like, I don't know how many he'll remember. We did a speech, and literally, I think 100, 200 people took shahada.
Those speeches are crazy.
Yeah. It was like that was amazing.
African dawah is
Yeah,
different.
yeah.
Your favorite type of clothing?
T-shirt. Yeah, I'm addicted to T-shirts.
Whenever I've seen
I
you,
will
you're wearing a
literally
T-shirt.
not wear anything. I love T-shirts. Yeah.
Vegan, meat, or vegetarian?
No, I'm a meat person. Yeah.
Best short advice you could give us?
Don't eat too much meat.
Okay, set that up nicely.
The best short advice I could give you is fear Allah, isn't it? Have taqwa of Allah. That's probably the best advice you can ever give anyone. Yeah.
One thing we should avoid in life?
Deluding yourself.
Hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. If there's one piece of advice I would give to everybody, right? Don't fool yourself. Like, develop self-honesty. I actually think it's probably the single most important thing. It's like the root of everything. If you can, and it's very, very hard to achieve, like that level of complete self-honesty.
Yes, subhanAllah.
But strive for that. Yeah, be brutally honest with yourself, and don't delude yourself, because the opposite of that is having delusions about yourself.
Yes.
Thinking you're capable of stuff that you're not capable of, right? Thinking you're good at something which you're not, right? But let alone all the lies and the stories and the things we tell ourselves to, make ourselves just to really pander to our egos, right? That get rid of all of that stuff.
This is very deep advice.
Yeah.
Favorite animal?
That's probably a cheetah. My kids asked me that. a lot. You know, what's your favorite animal? And I suppose cheetah, but I love dogs because I brought up with dogs, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of Muslims don't like dogs and think they're like whatever, and dogs are this, but dogs are extremely loyal, right, and make amazing friends. So be a Maliki. It's the best thing when it comes to dogs.
Your number one thing that makes you ponder on the creation of Allah.
Number one thing.
Yeah, like what? Maybe you go to seasides or there's something like one of my friends.
Let me tell you something, right? Here's something I recommend anyone does this. Yeah.
Okay.
I recommend anyone to do this. Yeah. Take a needle.
Yeah.
Yeah. And go to the seaside with the needle.
Okay.
Right. And go where you can see the sea is like the ocean is in front of you. There's no land. It's just ocean. Yeah.
Yeah.
Take the needle, dip it in the ocean, and pull it out. Then look what's left on that needle. That is the dunya, and the sea is the akhirah.
Allahu Akbar. That's deep. That's a clip right there. Allahu Akbar. Yeah, that's very deep. Subhanallah. Favorite color?
Yeah, probably blue. Yeah.
And which prophet story do you find the most interesting?
Yeah, Ibrahim, like I said,
Ibrahim,
yeah,
yeah.
I'll go back to that. Definitely, it was maybe, yeah, interesting. In terms of interesting, I think the encounter of Musa.
That's what I was.
Khidr,
That's
the
for me.
encounter is very, very deep. That is a seriously deep story. Like when Musa, it has a lot of lessons there.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
About human psychology, about the way we think, about how we understand stuff,
Wallahi.
right? About, and that classic statement what the Khidr says, how are you going to be patient with something you can't understand? Wow. You go, how can you be patient with something you can't understand? Subhanallah. Yeah, that's a really deep story, that.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Subhanallah. So, that's the quick fire done.
Yeah, good.
Jazakumullahu khairan.
Barakallahu feek.
We'll get straight into the topics, inshallah. So the first thing that I wanted to speak...
Quite a long quick fire.
It was long, actually.
Yeah. It's all right.
I added on some questions last night, but I thought it's too short, but... Alhamdulillah, khair, inshallah.
It's a podcast. We can talk all day if we like.
Most definitely. So, when we speak of Speaker's Corner, Speaker's Corner has been something... and I actually checked the last episode.
Yeah.
Just to actually check if I even spoke to you about this, but I didn't. And when we think of Speaker's Corner recent years, in the last couple of years, Speaker's Corner has become very, very trendy, if I can say. People go in there, there's a lot of drama, very, very entertaining, etc.
Yeah, it always was.
Everyone has different views on it.
Yeah.
If we're going to speak about like OGs of Speaker's Corner, you're definitely one of them. Where like if you look at the classic videos, the blurry VCR type videos, you're there, Allahu Akbar, and you're standing there, you're giving dawah, etc.
Yeah.
In your view, how has dawah changed since the days of Speaker's Corner, those days specifically of Speaker's Corner, perhaps 15, 20 years ago, I don't know how long ago that was, to now? What we're seeing now online.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really been, so I haven't been to Speaker's Corner since I stopped going.
Okay.
I don't. I've watched a few things. Mohammed Hijab, probably, and Ali Dower and your dad. I watched a few little clips here and there. So, so the difference is that, like, all of that stuff was going on back in the days, by the way. Right, so there's one-to-one or those group interactions where people are talking. That was always happening. That, excuse me. In many ways, that was always the interesting stuff that was going on at Speaker's Corner. But like a major part of Speaker's Corner back in the days was the fact that you had speakers who stood up and spoke, and they became known as speakers. Now, I don't know if you have that anymore, right? If the people who are, and you had to develop your public speaking skills like really strongly, right? You could not get away. Like for me, that was the great thing about Speaker's Corner. In terms of an arena to develop, it's like it's the equivalent of WFC, right? It's the equivalent of cage fighting.
The Dower gym.
Right. If you, no, I'm not Dower, but like, I guess public speaking, public debating, it's literally was like that. It's like, it is, you could give the equivalent. It's the, where you could literally say anything. There was no holds barred. I think they would say that the only thing you can't do is insult the Queen, and you probably could insult the Queen and still get away with it. You can literally. So it wasn't all. I think that's the big difference. Now it's all very much, and I suppose, like you said, the VHS videos, like we were the first people, that, as far as I know, to do that, where we started filming in Speaker's Corner.
Yeah.
So maybe we're guilty. But it would have happened anyway with the coming of the mobile phones. And it's inevitable. So the whole dynamic has changed. But it's really, I remember my dad sitting down and watching those videos.
Of you?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he sat there for an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Wow.
Right? Couldn't stop watching it. He said, this is so engaging.
Wow.
He said, I can see why people like these videos. And it was like, it's like not like anything. It's not talking heads. It was like real, there's emotion in there. There is expression. There's verbal combat.
It's fun.
It's very engaging. I don't know about fun, but it's definitely engaging in the way that, like, this podcast will never be engaging like that, right? Not on the same level, right?
Yeah.
So, and people love that. People love debates. People love clashes. They love those type of engagements. They love that energy, So, yeah, I think it has its place. Absolutely, it has its place. Speaker's Corner. I think the real challenge there is to keep your decorum, right? Is to keep your manners, right? Not to allow the fact that you're having an argument. Here's the thing: is that it's not about you winning an argument. Like, from the dawah perspective, from the perspective of giving dawah, you have to always understand you're not here to win arguments. You're here to change hearts and minds, right? And often it's more about engaging with people's hearts than it is with their brains. So if you're going there thinking, I'm going to win this argument, I'm going to, no, that from a dawah perspective, that's not the right way to be.
Yeah, subhanAllah.
So, yeah.
One of the things that you said that, on this specific podcast, I've said in the past on the Muhammad Hijab episode, when we had Muhammad Hijab in, one of the things that I said to him is that at that time, I didn't agree with Speaker's Corner, even as a concept, because I said, because obviously I had been going Speaker's Corner since even before the camp, like all of this, before it was with my father, except when I was young, and I remember seeing it and how it has changed, etc. a little bit. It hasn't really changed, to be honest with you. It's just a whole dramatization now. Online, I was saying this to someone. I was saying that it's like a reality TV show, and you got different characters. So you got this crazy one. You got this guy.
It was always like that. It was
So it's funny in a way. So but what I was saying is that, but now, subhanAllah, when I look at it, and I've had a little bit of time to think about it as well, and speak to some of the brothers. Obviously, I know pretty much all of them, or majority of them, that go there and do the dawah there on a regular basis. One of the things that I have seen is it definitely has its place. And what you just said really, really resonated with me about how when you speak to people in Speaker's Corner, in a place where people are attacking you, etc., and you show exceptional mannerisms, and you show, like, for example, in the Arabic language, it's called lean, like bil lean. You're easy with the people. You speak to them in a very, very nice way, and you give them down. And it also allows you to think without getting emotional, and be like razor blade when it comes to your arguments and your da'wah. And when you see those type of conversations, even the people, the people, they love those speakers that contain themselves, that don't get personal, etc. And as you said, subhanAllah, I think it's definitely, a place where people can develop their public speaking skills. And is there a reason you stopped?
It's just not productive for me personally. It was not. But
you just
for
wanted
me,
to move on from it.
Yeah, for me, like I'm a very big believer in being efficient in whatever you do. I believe in, like, you could call it laziness, and maybe it is, but I think the sort of positive side of what we call laziness, right, is that it's not. I like to say I'm lazy, right, and I probably am lazy, but I'm not lazy in necessarily always a negative way, right. I'm lazy in the sense that I hate putting unnecessary effort into something. Like, why? If there is a more efficient way of doing something, why not do it a more efficient way?
100%. Yeah.
I mean, that's why human beings are where we are, because I think we're fundamentally, like, I think there's a whole book written on this, the fact that it's laziness that's got us that's advanced us so much, because it's always our desire to be more and more efficient. So Speaker's Corner is not an efficient place. It's not if you want to give dawah, it's not efficient.
Yeah.
And you can go there for a bit and you'll get everything you'll ever get from it. You know, you go there for, I mean, I went there for 10 years, right? You don't need to go there for 10 years.
So from
right?
what year to what year would you think you,
I
from the
can't remember,
90s to like...
early, late, I started almost straight away when I became Muslim, right? So very, very late 80s,
Wow.
to, the
early 2000s?
Yeah, early 2000s when I stopped. Yeah.
Amazing.
And I mean, obviously, as I started getting invited more and more abroad, and I started giving lectures all over the world, and then I went to Speaker's Corner less and less.
It became more international
Yeah.
for you then. Yeah.
But then, I guess the thing is that when I started getting invited to universities, and I did a lot of talks and lectures in universities, then I started realizing that, you know, the reach that I had in universities and the amount of people that I could talk to and have really constructive conversations with was so much more than what you could get. You could go to Speaker's Corner. So here it was, I would go there literally from, what was it? We had a habit, we'd get there sort of 11, 12, right? Maybe after Dhuhr. And we would usually stay there. In summer, we'd stay there until maybe 10 o'clock at night. So we'd be there the whole night,
Maghrib or something.
right? Until Maghrib, yeah. And so you could talk the whole day. I mean, I remember once my longest speech ever was 6 hours non-stop, 6-hour speech.
Seriously?
Right? No, I mean, and it's not a speech. Remember, you're shouting, right? You're not just, you're not just giving a talk.
It's a normal thing to lose your voice there, you know?
You have to, it's training,
Yeah.
right? You have to train your voice. I couldn't do it now. I could probably talk there for half an hour and you'd lose your voice for a day or 2 days. But it's with training and training and training, your voice gets trained, right? But what I would find is that I would be drained. I mean, Musa, I would be drained to the point that if you talk to me at the end of the day, I sort of can't describe it. It was just like my brain is just fried. And I can see you're talking to me and I know words are coming out of your mouth and I'm just like in a zombie state, right? And that would last until the middle of the week. I would not recover from Speaker's Corner until Wednesday. So that means basically I've got 1 day in Speaker's Corner. I've got 3 days that are literally non-productive. I can virtually do nothing because my mind, I am so physically and mentally exhausted.
Wow.
That's not efficient. And to do what? To shout at 20, 30 people, right? It doesn't make sense. And come the Advent, now I don't even believe in going to conferences. Like, why am I getting on an airplane, spewing out carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, right? You travel across the world to talk to an audience for half an hour, right? And then you come back and it's ridiculous. Like, why? I can go on my Facebook, right?
Do a live.
I can do a live and 20,000 people are watching it, listening to it. I mean, it'll reach more, but that's like how many people actually... Why? Yeah. Why would you spend all of that energy and all of that time and all of that effort for what? Right? For nothing that is for something that is really not really... Maybe it's productive for your ego because you love it. Yeah, you're standing there. The lights are shining. Yeah, look, everyone's listening to me. Yeah. Oh, mashallah, Sheikh, mashallah. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. Oh, it's such a pleasure to meet you, Sheikh. Yeah. Isn't it? Oh, I wanted to meet you all my life, Sheikh. Yeah. Falah, ustad, this and that. Yeah, not massage for your ego, right? But in terms of actually being productive, right? Is it really productive? No, I don't think it is. And I know that there's this nice thing of actually meeting people and there's a time and place for it. Like I don't diss anyone for going to Speaker's Corner. It has its place. These conferences have these place. But for me, it's done. Like, why am I going to spend so much energy to get so little benefit? Yeah. Like, so in terms of the training, I've done it. I've had it. I don't need any more public speaker training. Like, I don't need that. Yeah. So that's why I don't go anymore. Not interested at all.
So alhamdulillah, I think obviously what one of the things that led on from that is iERA, in your journey in Dawah. And since its inception over a decade ago, alhamdulillah, I think after we done our podcast, we had our it was like a 10-year anniversary kind of event.
Yeah, that was a good event. Yeah,
as iERA, alhamdulillah. Pretty much everyone from iERA was there, alhamdulillah, and it was a beautiful event. Many people attended, etc. Benefited. We spoke about Dawah. We done a live ReRooted podcast. Hasn't been released yet. I'm not sure if it's going to get released, but we'll see.
Why?
Inshallah. We have to talk about that.
All right. Okay.
But alhamdulillah, no, it was an amazing event. So iERA has actually been going strong for over 10 years now. Allahu Akbar. And now we're in many, many countries, 6 continents, if I'm not mistaken. I can't name the countries and the outreach specialists because I lose count. I genuinely lose count. Every month it seems to be changing or so. Allahu Akbar. It's amazing. It's the work is being done down on the ground. How is iERA currently in relation to the way you envisioned it? Is this what you envisioned? Is this what you wanted from the organization, or do you feel like there's still a long way to go?
Yeah, I think what is interesting is that it is actually now materializing into the organization that I envisaged it to be in the beginning.
Okay.
So we went through various. It's interesting because we went through a lot of. We went through various stages, like you could call it evolution, I suppose. Like we went through various stages, and some of it was driven by the need to do stuff. I'll be frank, right? So we did debates, we did various things, and some of it was just driven by the need to be seen to be doing stuff. It was not really what we wanted to do, but we had to do it from the point of view of just getting our message out.
Yeah.
Some stuff we had to do because it's just circumstances that dictated it. But I think now it's like what I realize is that we've come back to a place where we are actually now, we have that strength and we have that experience to really focus, start being efficient. And that's what it is. It's really about focusing right back to what we started this organization for and sort of trimming. You could say trimming it's probably not the right expression, trimming the fat, because it's just about making it more efficient and making it more stream. It's about focus. That's what it is. It's about focus. I believe that you benefit a lot from focus.
So for any new viewers watching, I mean, what is that? What was that purpose? What was that goal? What is the purpose of iERA?
Yeah, so the goal was really to have an organization that was focusing on giving dawah to non-Muslims.
Yes.
Right? That's it.
Yeah.
Right, and I think something that we decided very early on was that it wasn't just enough to invite non-Muslims to Islam, that when people became Muslim, we needed to try and do our best to make sure they stayed Muslim. 100%. So very soon, although that's not why we found the organization, like in our first, like, what we should do, guys, we should do this. Yeah, but pretty soon after, when we started getting down to the details of, let's outline the details of this a bit more, we realized that no, what's the point? What's the point in giving, like, from the point of view of an investor, right? And the investor are our listeners who donate to us, right? Yeah. What's the point in you donating to us if all we do is get a shahada? And it's not look, Musa, it's not hard to get people to take shahada. It's not difficult. Yeah. Right? You can get people to take shahada. Yeah. What's really hard is to make that shahada genuine, right? And to make sure they keep practicing the deen, 100%. Right? And sometimes if people look at our numbers, you may think, wait a minute, you're this organization, you're doing all of this, and this is your numbers of shahadas. It's because we're very strict in how we measure what is a shahada. It's not just like for us, a shahada is like, we don't go to a village in Africa or a bunch of suitcases and say, full of watches, for example, and say, hey guys, whoever says La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah can have a watch, right? Yeah. We could get shahada. Technically, they would all have said shahada, right? Yeah. Although we never explain to them what it means. We just get them to say some words they don't understand. And they get a free, we don't do that. Right? Like, no, when we go somewhere, we want to make sure that those people who take shahada is genuine and that they get the support they need. Right? So those are the two things that we did. So we went through, I guess we went through some stages and we were thinking, look, I guess we were primarily motivated by like Uthman, the founder of the Ottoman dynasty, right? He was inspired to conquer Constantinople by a hadith. And similarly, we were inspired by a hadith. And the hadith was that Islam will reach every country, every town, every village, every home. Even if that home is made of mud or hair, there will be a Muslim inside it. I'm paraphrasing the hadith, but this is the actual meaning of the hadith. It doesn't mean there will be a TV with someone talking about Islam. No, the hadith, the meaning of the hadith is that there will be a Muslim inside every home. Inside every home, there will be someone who is a Muslim. So It's that. That is what that's what motivated us. That's what drives us. That's what that's what we want to achieve. That's what we want to do as iERA. Like not necessarily we as iERA, but we want to be part of trying to make that happen.
Part of the hadith, yeah.
Yeah, part of making that. And at least we can try, right? At least we can try.
Most definitely.
So that's what sort of motivates us. So we were thinking about how can we do that? How can we achieve that?
Yeah.
So our initial idea was that, well, look, there are already Muslims in every country. There's probably Muslims in more or less like many towns, if not most towns. I mean, like you'll find Muslims in, like places you can't imagine. Like almost every town, maybe not every town, but almost every town there's a Muslim. Not every village, yeah, but almost every town. So it's like, well, if we could only get those Muslims to fulfill their obligation of dawah. Because if you're a Muslim living in a non-Muslim land, dawah is something you should be doing. That should be part and parcel of what you do as a Muslim. That's how Islam spread in, Malaysia and Indonesia and so many places through Muslims and traders. So our idea was to reinvigorate and re-inspire and re-motivate the Muslims to give dawah and present to them a very simple method of giving dawah. A very, very simple method that anyone could learn. And that's how the go-rap method of dawah became developed, and we try to squeeze it down to make it super simple so like anybody could do it. And then we started going to masajid, and trying to teach the ordinary Muslims to give dawah.
Yes.
And it didn't really work. Okay, that's the thing. So we spent a lot of energy doing that. Alhamdulillah, we motivated people, we reminded people, and we knew that people love dawah. They do. People love it. They feel it in their hearts. And they, like, their biggest barrier most of the time is like, I want to talk to people about Islam, but I don't know how to do it, right? But despite our efforts, I don't think it really worked because, yes, people, they would come to the courses, they would learn, but, it takes a type of commitment and dedication. It's like, whatever I say, you can't learn how to give dawah in an afternoon course. You have to apply it, you have to make an effort.
Yeah.
So basically that we reached a stage where we thought, okay, this is not really getting where we want to get to. And then we went back to the original idea that we had. The original idea that we had was to find dua. So was to find people who are specialized in giving dawah, right? And to support them and train them or develop those people, right? And from that they could develop other people. So it's a much slower process.
Exponential growth.
Yeah. It's a much slower process. But it's about focus. 100%. It's about finding the people and developing the people who have those skills. And I think that's what we've come full circle to. So now when we talk about we have teams and when we have dua, that's what we're focusing on. Yeah. Those individuals that we've selected who are driven by this desire to spread the message of Islam to non-Muslims and to support them, give them the support they need, give them the training they need. And that's the way we're doing it now.
And alhamdulillah, so far, I mean, it's doing amazing.
I think so.
The different countries that we're in. And I'm sure you'll agree with me that the dynamics, this is something, even from the quickfire that I wanted to speak to you about in this podcast. The dynamics of da'wah in different locations are very different. They're very different. So to give an example, just before the lockdown, literally just before it, alhamdulillah, I made it back in the country, but I was in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And when we were in New Zealand, I was there. Sheikh Yusuf Chambers was there with us, and me and him had a conversation about how the dynamics of da'wah, even in New Zealand, which wouldn't be classed as like a third world country, technically it would be classed as the West, right? Yeah. No matter where it is on the map, it's like the West, right? And we were saying how the da'wah here even is very different. The people, what he was saying is like they're so much closer to the fitrah, and you can see it. It's like the way that they are, that when you interact with them, they're so much more receptive. It's so much easier speaking to them. Yeah. So what do you think about the dynamics of da'wah with, the West, where, for example, we are in the UK and perhaps America and countries like where we've had a lot of success, alhamdulillah, and continents like Africa, Philippines, Latin America, we've had immense, alhamdulillah, success in these places, in these areas. What do you think about the dynamics?
I think we haven't, I'll be honest, we haven't yet kept pace with the change of the dynamics of dawah in the West.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I believe.
Yeah.
Right. I still think that people. Look, back in the days when before the internet and before mobile phones and stuff, and like that's it. You talk to people. You don't. If you wanted to communicate, you could give them a leaflet, a booklet, or you talk to them. We'd go down to Leicester Square. In fact, funnily enough, the best place to give dawah was not Speaker's Corner. Speaker's Corner was not a really good place to give dawah.
Yeah.
Leicester Square, that was like when you looking
mine.
for a gold mine. It was literally a gold mine.
Yeah.
You would go down to Leicester Square, and you could probably still do it. And I'm sure that at the end of every evening, you'll come away with 5, 10, 15 shahadas. Every evening you go down there. Remember we told a sheikh from Yemen, one of Sheikh Mukbil's students, actually.
Okay.
And he said, yes, I remember a brother told me the same thing. In America, he used to go to, Times Square or somewhere. And he said, but it's not surprising. And the way he was amazing. It's not surprising because people go there because they're lost. They're looking for something. Why do they go to these places? Because they're lost. They're looking for something. And when you give them Islam, that's what they're looking for. They just, no one was there to tell it to them, right? So, but that, I think that is like not so places like Leicester Square is not where it's happening anymore. The places where people are lost, they're lost on their phones. They're lost on Snapchat. They're lost on Instagram. They're lost on TikTok, right? That's where they're lost now, right? And whether they know it or not, they're going there searching for something. They are. Every time you're flicking, you're going through, you're really, at the end of the day, what are you really doing when you open it up? What's really going on? And why is it so addictive? Why is it so addictive? Because really deep down inside, you're hoping there's something there that's going to just change your life. That's just going to make my life somehow better, right? Whether it's an email, whether it's, I don't know what it is. You fool yourself into thinking there's going to be something there. And we haven't really reached out onto that realm. We haven't moved our dawah efforts into that new area. And part of the problem is it just changes so fast. Like people say, oh, Facebook is for dinosaurs. It's like, okay, come on, man. Like, you can say that, but in reality, like, it's still the biggest platform. And there's people who are still going to be using Facebook for the next 30 years. It's not quite extinct, yeah? It's not quite dinosaurs. Like, there are people who use it and will be using it for another 30 years. And they will not use another social media platform. They will keep using Facebook. Right? And just because a bunch of youth are like going TikTok and whatever, it doesn't mean everything else is finished. But like, it's true. The pace of stuff is like from Instagram to TikTok. And so we're just not keeping pace with that. We have done almost nothing to keep pace with that sphere. We have to reach people because that's where people are lost. And we have to find people where they're lost. That's where we have to find them.
Yeah.
So I think that's how the dynamic of dawah in the West is changing. Right? It's how do we find those spaces where we can reach the people and get their message to them? And that old school way of like going on the street and handing out leaflets and talking to people, it still all has its place, just like Speaker's Corner has its place, right? But if you really want to reach people, you have to reach them in those places where they're lost.
100%. 100%. And on the flip side, I mean, the dynamic in these other countries, like the Philippines.
Yeah, they're not
like
really
Africa,
into that stuff. They don't.
It's very grassroots.
Yeah, it is. They still meet with each other, talk with each other, sit with each other, eat with each other, right?
Yeah.
They don't walk around with their faces buried in their phones the whole time. They're not like that. That when you go to the Philippines, you don't see that. You don't see people walking down the street with their faces. I mean, they have phones, but they're not absorbed in it quite to the same extent.
Yes. And perhaps that may be because of the society that they live in. It's not as materialistic and as consumerism and materialism driven as our society.
I don't know the reasons.
I
mean, in some countries it's just affordability, right?
Yeah.
Like they just can't afford those smartphones and they don't have access to such high-speed technology. So when you go to Malawi, like it's really Burundi, you'll not see hardly anyone with a mobile phone.
For me, Sheikh, a lot of people, and it's probably people even listening to this right now, they're in a very, very they're in their own bubble.
Yeah.
They don't realize what's happening around the world. No. Honestly. Yeah. And for example, what you just said Malawi. I remember when I went to Malawi and I was in a bubble. And when I remember when we went to one of the villages, I got my phone out and I put it on the camera, you know, the front facing camera, and I was showing them little kids themselves on the front facing camera.
Yeah.
And they went wild.
Yeah.
Like they're seeing sihr in front of them.
Yeah.
Honestly, like they're seeing some sort of magic, like black magic going on. They're like, what? Like, it was shocking to them. And the point is, this is a rural village where they don't have no phones. They don't have anything like that. Yeah. They're wearing ripped up clothes. You know, the ladies are going out and they're, you know, picking the maize from the area. This is literally the kind of areas that we went to. And for these type of people, they're living as if they're living 500 years ago. It's like nothing's changed for them.
And one of the things is they don't have time, because their life is a battle for survival, right?
Yeah.
In the sense that they wouldn't have time to spend, even if they had the mobile phones, they wouldn't have time to spend a lot of time on them. Yeah. This is the other thing you have to realize, is that their life, their everyday life, is a battle for just survival, right? Yeah. They don't have this, you know, what they call it, disposable income, right? Like even, you know, I dare to say it, you know, it's a long time since I've been on Social Security, but like, you know, like even people on Social Security, right? They have some, they may argue and say, you don't know what you're talking about. But no, like even some people, I'm not saying everybody, but some people on Social Security still have disposable income, in the sense that they can spend they can spend some of that money on things that are not absolute necessities.
Of course, yeah.
Right? They can still do that. Yeah. They can still pay for a plan for a mobile phone. You may think of that as it's not an absolute necessity. You're not going to die without your mobile phone. You will not die without it. It's not an absolute necessity.
It's a luxury.
It is a luxury, right? And people will still have money to pay for their, you know, to have some sort of mobile phone, to have some sort of plan. In those countries, most people don't even have that. That their everyday life is a fight for survival, day by day. You know, that's their existence, right? But, you know, in many ways, they're so much better because of it.
Yes. Yeah. And one of the things I've noticed is, on the onset, they're much closer to the fitrah. Yeah. You know, when you speak to them and you give them dawah, and you, there's not this clouding. Yeah. You know what we have here. There's no ego as well. You know, there's no I'm better than you, and oh, you know, why do I need this for? I've got money, etc. It's not like that with them. Yeah. It's very, very, you know, down to earth, and their beliefs. They're very religious people. Yeah. You know. Atheism, alhamdulillah, is not a thing
non-existent
in these places, and it's actually absurd and laughable, you know, in these places. So subhanallah, I mean, we're in many countries, alhamdulillah, iERA, and countries, you know, for example, like the UK, you know, places like the UK, the US, which are, you know, towards the west, and we're also alhamdulillah in these locations as well, where we've got outreach specialists working, etc. So what are our future plans now? If anyone's watching, anyone new, or anyone that has been supporting us, you know, what would you say where are we going, where are we driving towards as iERA?
Well, you know, I think the thing to do is, what we want to do is see what works. Yes, that's the key thing. So one of the things we always wanted to do as an organization from the very beginning is to be try to be like directed more by research than by anecdotal, you know, this feels right to me type of stuff. Yeah. So, you know, we wanted to do our best to make sure that, you know, we're driven by some sort of tangible, observable data. Okay. And that includes, you know, like where we give dawah. Yes. So we, you know, like obviously there are some places where we are getting more shahadas than others. There are some places where people stay Muslim more easily than others. Why? What's the reason? Is it to do with the people? Is it to do with the way that the dawah has been given? All right. What are the reasons for it? We're not always sure, right? Why do people take shahada, you know, in the Philippines and not, you know, in London? Like, what's the reason? It may seem obvious, but sometimes it's not always obvious. That's the difference between something being anecdotal, right, and something being actually driven by what you can actually quantify. Yeah. So it's really about digging down right now and finding out what is working and why it is working. And then let's see what's working and see if we can replicate that in other places and see if it works in other places, because what works in the Philippines may not work somewhere else.
Yeah, this is
We don't know. But the thing is that, I think sooner or later you get down to some sort of formula. You get down to, because, despite everything, human beings are not really that complex. We like to think we're super complex.
Yeah,
Right?
we're not.
But the things that drive us, right, psychologically, spiritually, they're not, they're universal, right? There are universal things that drive us, and there's universal things that distract us, right? And there are some variables from time to place and culture to culture, right? But whatever it is, we need to do our best to dig down to find out what is the common thread, if there is a common thread. What is working, why is it working, and how can we replicate it? And then once we can do that, inshallah, we have a more successful model.
Inshallah. And obviously we need everyone's du'as and support.
Absolutely.
Etc. I'm sure,
Yeah.
we couldn't do it without the support of the people, alhamdulillah, watching us.
Yeah.
All of the donors, etc., that support the
Yeah.
work, and the du'at, everyone. For a lot of people, this is their life.
Yeah.
For some Muslims, we have people doing different things. People
Yeah.
studying, people, trying to become this and that, etc. Everyone has their place. It's been mentioned multiple times in this podcast. But for us, alhamdulillah, we have a group of strong, du'at, people who are giving dawah, calling to Allah. They need that support. They're getting results, alhamdulillah, and we just need to continue with that, inshallah. We just need your support, inshallah, to continue that.
Inshallah.
But Sheikh, jazakallahu khairan.
Barakallah fiqh.
Jazakumullahu khairan for coming on the podcast once
It's a pleasure,
again.
bro.
It's been a pleasure having you, and we just wanted to speak about, just give some of the newer viewers as well,
Yeah.
of the ReRooted podcast, of the iERA YouTube channel, some context behind what we do as iERA, inshallah. So brothers and sisters, jazakumullahu khairan for watching this episode of ReRooted. Please do subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, inshallah. Keep up to date with all of our social medias and all of the work that we're doing around the world. We don't only post podcasts, etc. We're doing many, many other things, alhamdulillah, in different parts of the globe. Keep up to date with that as well. Follow us on Instagram, inshallah, at iERA.org. You can listen to the ReRooted podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Google Podcasts as well, if you're still on the other side of the fence and you haven't made it over yet. And we'll see you in the next episode. Look after yourselves. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Peace.